Thank you for listening to Depictions Media Radio. What is time? We all have clocks in our homes, and we all carry phones that have clocks embedded in them. We monitor time while we're working, we monitor time while we're playing, and everything else that we do. We set alarm clocks so that we get up at the right time to begin our day, and we have a clock to know what time it is that we're supposed to go and rest. But do we really understand what time is? Is that clock time? Is that how we should be measuring time? And should time be stressing us? Time should be an asset. And when we are on track with purpose, time may seem to fly. Our sense of time may seem to disappear, and when we emerge from the task at hand, the thing that brought us to our purpose, that brought us into that zone, would have seemed to brought us through time very quickly, and we'll look at the clock and say, "My, where did the time go while I was doing that?" Time is our greatest asset because we are energetic beings. Our assets empower us and bring us to our greatness. They bring us to our purpose, and they never actually control us. We control them. Time should not control us nor stress us. We need to find ways to use our assets to guide us to our purpose. Time is our asset. One of the things that I hear all the time is people say, "I don't have enough time to do things."
Yeah.
And I wish I had. There were just simply more hours in a day, that they have more time to get to the things that they really want to do. And time is an asset that we all have lots and lots of, because it's the place that we all kind of exist, right?
Yeah.
It isn't just simply the clock on the wall ticking off the minutes and the hours. The time is way more than that, right?
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm hearing a lot of people saying time is the new currency. Like, what do you want to do with your time?
Yeah.
How do you want to prioritize your time? Because a lot of times when people talk, I don't have enough time in the day to do what I really want to do. You know, a lot of times we spend a lot of times unfocused, or like, I'm just getting a visual of like a circle, a big circle, and then you've got the circle in the middle, and then you've got all the concentric circles around it. You know, so I always think about the circle is the focus point. That's the sweet spot where I'm always constantly bringing myself back to that spot. But you can move out in the circles, the different concentric circles, and you can get distracted from your task, distracted from what you had planned to do that day. You might get delayed somewhere, but it depends. Where are you in those circles. I always think about that for myself. How are you close to the center? Are you focused? Are you, and you know, you're going to move back and forth. It's not, you're not going to constantly be in that state. Well, for me, I haven't reached that yet, but I always find that quite interesting too.
Yeah. So if we stay focused on what our task is, you know, but sometimes is our task really, is the task that we're trying to focus on, is it really serving our purpose?
Well, you know how when you're doing something and you're just so in flow, like you just, like when I'm in nature, I'm walking because I'm looking for mushrooms right now. So I'm foraging for the elusive chanterelles. I think I mentioned that to you. So I'll go out, and my daughter loves to forage too. So we'll go out and we'll be wandering, and it's just, time isn't relative. We just go out for the morning and we're there. And if we're back in 2 hours, we are. If we're back in 4 hours, that can happen too. Or sometimes it's 45 minutes. It's just this, it depends. If you're in your passion, time just disappears.
Right. Is it that time disappears, or is it that the clock disappears?
Well, it's relative, because you can go, I don't know how much time we spent. Often we'll pick we'll say, oh, let's go for the morning. And we don't have a clue how long we've been there. But we always seem to, if we say the morning, we intuitively come out of that time around the morning, like the end of the morning. It's very fascinating.
Right.
I mean, it's still there, but I'm not connected into it. I'm just in a space, and I'm enjoying myself so much that time, I always call that being in that vortex, that flow space where you're just in the space. You know, right. How when you speak with friends or you're with people and you're really having a good time, say, dinner party, we haven't had many of those but lately, but you have that dinner party or friends over, and then all of a sudden it's 2 a.m. and you go, oh, what happened? That you're just all enjoying each other's company, and just the conversation's rich and enjoyable, and then you go, wow, what happened to that?
Yeah. Actually, my wife and I, we do that all the time. Is like we'll just start on something together, and then next thing we know, we're like, oh crap. how did it get to be dark already, right?
Right.
On that note, it's one of the reasons why I think I'm married to her, is because, hey, we just kind of melt into each other, right?
Beautiful. That's beautiful. That's a gift, Michael.
Yeah. Sometimes I wonder, it's like I like what you were saying with your daughter and everything, where you're out there, and I would love to have some of the chanterelle mushrooms, but you're so far away, and by the time I get them, it just wouldn't be worth cooking with them. But Einstein came with the theory that when you're talking about relative and time and everything, right, that space and time are conjoined.
Yes.
And that they form this continuum, and as we move through space, we have to move through time. So you and your daughter intuitively connect yourself in that space and time at the and get done what we're supposed to do with each other.
Yes.
AKA look for the mushrooms.
What about, because this is another theory that I do this alchemy work, and he said space and time runs through you. You are the center. You're not moving through time. Time is moving through you.
That's an interesting thought too.
Yeah.
It's like,
I thought that was interesting too. So I'm just sort of exploring that and bending my head around that concept. That you are right? We're the center. So it's moving through you. You're not moving through it.
Right. When we consider both both philosophical views, though, and we look at and we actually look at how our society actually works, that both of those theories kind of go against how our society works, because we get up in the morning to an alarm clock. We go to work and we clock in 8 hours, and we're like, watching. Okay, I have to start work here at this time at say 9 a.m. And then when 5 o'clock ticks, you got to stop everything and then move on to what is your personal time, right?
It's interesting because the more we've progressed in our evolution, that's not how we used to live. We lived with the cycles of nature, and we would get up when the sun came up, and then we would do our work, and then at the end of the day, you go inside. We'd sleep earlier. We've lost that circadian rhythm of the planet,
right?
And we don't live that way because we've got, you can stay up and watch your TV or screen, and we've got lights now. I mean, there's progress, but in some ways, we've lost that connection of the flow. That when I talk about flow, like when I'm in nature, I'm in that flow. I can feel it. But I'm not always in that flow when I'm doing work, sitting here trying to do something with my work, and it doesn't flow as easily for me. I'll go for a walk, take a break, get out. You need to get out to get your ideas.
Right. And it's kind of interesting how that you say that, is because our society didn't start doing clocking in the way we do until the Industrial Revolution, when we actually found electricity to power our lights as opposed to a fire. Right.
I mean, you can see the progress in something, and then sometimes it's regressing, right? It's because it's very constrictive now for people.
Yeah.
They got to get in there. They got to get up. If people live in the suburbs and have to work in the city, I mean, they have to get up pretty early. And then if they've got kids, and then they've got to, get organized. Well, what time do I have to drop the kids off? What time do I have to get to work? I've got to backtrack. I've got this much time in my car.
Yeah. So we were talking about this in a networking meeting, that because my day starts at about midnight. I get up and I do my exercise routine for so many hours, and approximately 5 to 6 hours, right? And I don't wake up. And here was the interesting part of this conversation, and getting back to that circadian rhythm, that, and if we went back to the Middle Ages, where it was farming and hunting is basic existence, right? You woke up, you did a task, ate, did a task, rest.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And in our modern society, we get up and we have to shovel food into our mouth almost immediately.
Well, do we need to do that, or is that just programming? I'm really looking. We could go in another tangent with that, but that's programming, because I've never been a really big person to want to get up and eat. That's not something I want when I first wake up.
No, it was just kind of interesting that this is what people were saying to me in this networking meeting, and I'm like, no, I don't do that. It's like I complete a series of tasks, and then I have something to eat. And
sorry,
right.
I didn't quite catch that. Could you please repeat it?
Where's we'll edit that part out.
Well, and then the way, we're I love to talk about dimensions. So we're living on a planet. We're in the third dimension.
Right.
If you want to talk about that way. So third dimension timeline is you're born, you live, and then you die. So people are in this dimension, you know, like, oh, I'm getting older, I'm aging, now I'm old, and, you know, or, you know, and then it's the end of your life. Or, you know, if that's living a full life, some, you know, people die at many different stages along that way. But, you know, and then that breaks down further into, I've got to get this done during the day, this done during the day. And that's a very, very constrictive, to me, constrictive way to live. I'm an entrepreneur, so I choose my hours. I choose when I'm going to exercise. I have a routine of how I know flows best for me. I'm really a morning person, so that's good for me to do my clients, and work is better in the morning than late afternoon and evening. We're all different because we all have these different rhythms. But that constrictiveness of this, you know, and then in that timeline, people are constantly projecting into the future of what they are worried about, you know, because right now the pandemic, so there's a lot of anxiety and stress and worry about what's going to happen, when's it's going to end, when can my life return to normal, which whatever that means anymore. So there's this worrying and this projection into the future, or they're reminiscing on the past, the good old days. You know, if you've ever met people that the best time of their life was high school, like that, just, oh, this was the good times, or, you know, I wish that this hadn't happened to me in the past. So we're constantly in those two states versus in this present moment. We're usually projecting or reflecting on the past. Causes anxiety for the future, and then depression really in the past if people are constantly delving into the past, because all we really have is this moment right now, like what we have.
Right.
Oh, that moment's gone now. Gone.
Yes.
Gone. Right. It's.
So there's an interesting thought, right? So when we find ourselves into that task, that purpose-filled task, where we're actually like one between us, nature, and everything around us, right? We're focused on now, what is right in front of us. We're not focused on what happened to us, like way back when, or focused on what we want to do way ahead of us. We're only focused like right those steps that we're taking right now. And I don't know about you, when I find that what some people call the zone, or find that rhythm, right? I feel my mind feels totally at peace.
Right, because that's when we're centered. That is when I said with the concentric circle. That's that sweet spot that we're always searching for, where everything just goes click, and we're in ease, and we're just connected to the divine, we're connected to the earth, and we're just flowing. And that's our natural state. That's how far, that's what we're all searching for. We're constantly, you know, searching for that bliss.
Right.
But in third dimension, it's very challenging, you know, with that timeline to experience that. That's why you moving into these higher vibrations, higher dimensions, you know, where you're in the present moment of, you know, like I said, that just like when we're together, your time's like a vortex. It's just flowing around you. You're in this vortex of it's almost no time, because you're not thinking about it. It's not like, oh, it's 4 o'clock, I got to get the kids, or 5:30, I got to get dinner, and oh, I forgot to get the milk, I got to go out and get that. Like that constant, it's almost controlling you.
Yeah, but is it that it's controlling us, or are we giving up our control and our purpose to something else?
You know, come on, we love to give our power away. We love to let others take it, or we let it go, or be told how we should behave, or, you know, this starts in very young in childhood, right? So we're patterned, you know, most of the voices going on in our heads are not even our own. It's our parents, or our teachers, or the medical system, or the school system, or the, you know, that's we have to sort of unhook ourselves from all of that to emerge and go, who am I? What am I about? What do I choose in my life?
Yeah. It.
I
There's
wanted to
an
also
Go
share
ahead.
something because I'm a healer.
Hmm.
So when I do my healing with people, I set up a field, a morphogenic field. So I call in the directions east, south, west, and north. I connect to the earth, I connect to source, and I flow everything in through the heart. So I am the center of time and space.
Hmm.
And then I do my healings. So that's in this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful sacred container. And that's where so many beautiful, magical things happen. And I'm starting to even do that for myself, even if I'm not working with a client. So I know where I am in the morning. I'm adding this to my practice now. And it's quite interesting because I'm walking around in my sacred container.
Now, there's an interesting thought.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I didn't do that very often. Like I'm coming back into this practice again, probably 6 months. I started really, in the springtime when I was going out into nature and thinking about working with the elements. And then I was thinking about the elements and the elementals. But I was going, okay, call the directions in, get a new, and that's a very indigenous belief. That's how you work. And then you work energetically into the field to do the healing work with the person. Yeah.
As see that's
Where's time and space there?
Yeah.
It's collapsed. There isn't any. I'm just in a field.
It's all collapsed together into for lack of a better word, a moment.
Yes. And then I work energetically with them on the energy bodies, the different bodies that I'm working through the field, connecting us through the quantum world.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So where's the time there?
Yeah.
It's collapsed. I feel like it's collapsed when I'm there. And even doing this practice for myself, as in the morning, even if I'm, not doing a client that day, I'm still know where I am in time and space.
Yeah.
It's empowering for me.
Yeah.
You should try it.
for myself, sometimes I'm like, I start doing something and then, when I come back out of the task or whatever it was I was doing is like, that, oh, how did I get here? It's like I had now left my now, and then I was like, how did I wind up here? Because I just remembered being in now, and then now and then I left now, and I'm like, where am I in time?
Maybe you're surfing on the thought strings, right?
Yeah. It's like,
you start somewhere and you end up way over here and you go, how did I even get here? Right?
Yeah.
Or when you're in your car, if you're not present and then you get where you're going and then you go, whoa, I don't remember that drive. And I'm sure everybody has felt that.
Right.
They could not say they have not, right? Where was I?
Yeah.
Because I don't remember that drive.
Yeah. That's a common one where I hear people say that a lot. That is like, that they remember getting in the car to go to wherever the appointment was, or to go to work, or whatever that was, and they don't remember. And one person even said that because they had a 5-speed car, right? So it clutched the whole bit.
Yeah.
They even hit the clutch. They shifted and everything, downshifted, whatever it was that they had to do to operate the car. And they said, I just don't remember any of it. I got caught up in something, and poof, I was here. So
yeah, checking out.
But is that really? It's definitely a thing. But is it something that we should be trying to avoid, or is it something that we should embrace?
Well, you're probably moving into some other frequency dimension, and then probably it's muscle memory because he knows how to drive the car, or she. Same with driving the car, right? You know what you're doing. As long as you're conscious that you're not driving through a red light or through a crosswalk with someone walking through, you know what I mean? You have to be present when you're operating a vehicle too.
Yeah, no, I would assume that the person is present enough to pay attention to the signals that are there, and whatever obstacles would be put, because
you do see people running a red light or doing things. You go, oh, they're not really present, or moving into a lane, things like that too. There's something else I wanted to share with you because I've done this. So I would encourage people to play with time, and just get curious about it.
Yeah.
Because I believe we can bend time. And I just want to give a couple of examples. And both was in a car. And one was, we were in Hawaii. This is years ago. And we were trying to catch the flight. And we were going to miss the flight. It was just from one island to another. The traffic was busy, and it was like, oh, we're going to miss the flight, and then what are we going to do? And we just started to play with the concept of bending time, saying we're going to get there perfectly on time. So there's, again, because we create our own reality, right? Your thoughts are things. There you are. So we started to say, we'll make it perfectly. We drive in, we walk onto the plane, and we'll just get it. And you know what? It happened. And the plane was not delayed. So I don't know where that 40 minutes went as what we would know in third dimension as 40 minutes. But we got there in what would have probably taken us closer to 50 minutes to an hour. Mm-hmm. We got there, you know what I mean? Like normally that would be 40 minutes. It took us to get to the airport to get in, where it should have taken far longer. So we were bending time. And then together, we were talking that way to each other. So we weren't allowing that, oh, we're not going to make it. Oh, yes, we are. We were united in that energy of we are going to get there. Plus, I was in Hawaii doing energy work and learning and exploring. So we were playing with different concepts. So we were very open and expanded to trying to play with this. And sometimes I've done that with driving too here. Like I know it's going to be tight. Traffic, you never know really what it's going to be like. And it's been tight, and I'll go, oh, you get there at the perfect time. You'll be perfectly on time, and it works.
Yeah. There's something that my wife and I, we get into this discussion all the time about being late, and I look at her and say, it's not possible to ever be late. You're always there at the perfect time. Mm-hmm. And she says, but what if your appointment was supposed to start 15 minutes ago? I said, but you got there right when you were supposed to anyway.
Right.
And she's more of a stickler for the clock than I am. And she says, well, what about the other people? Well, if I miss if my appointment has to be shorter because I arrived, my perfect time was off of whatever the clock said, then that was all I was supposed to have for that particular appointment anyway.
Yeah, that's another way to think about it. Sometimes I would think, how you go somewhere and you're driving around and then you need to go back to get something, or you forget something, you have to go back. Mm-hmm. You know how that can happen to you. And or you go to the store and you miss an item and you need to go back. I now believe we have to go back because there's some light or some information that we need to get, whether we consciously are aware of that or not, we're being directed back. So I'm just sharing with people, don't feel, oh, I forgot that. Why did I do that? Don't berate yourself for any of that, because I truly believe there's something we needed that you didn't fully complete. There was maybe somebody that you need to talk to. there's some type of energetic that's going to happen, and that's why you need to go back to pick up a piece. I don't know why, but that's what, just allow it to be, because we're so much more than just this logical mind walking around.
Yeah. I have a story for that one.
Okay.
I was videotaping a speaking coach, right? She's an intuitive speaking coach, and I'm going to say her first name because I think you know Karen.
Yes.
And she was doing her 3-day event, and one of the days I was supposed to be videotaping her, I forgot something at home. And I said, "Oh well, it won't matter. It won't matter. I'm just going to ignore it." And I moved forward, just because I was going to be late, shall we say,
right, to
the event, and I ignored the trigger to go back and pick up the item that I was going to need, and sure enough, when I got everything all set up, and I thought that I didn't need the item that I forgot, I got everything all set up, right? And sure enough, it didn't work. When I went to turn on the camera, it was like, oh, I really needed to go back to that. So the thing is like you're saying, that there was some other piece of information. There may have been the item, which I think in that case was a battery, and but there was some other piece of light that I was supposed to pick up along the way.
Mm-hmm.
And if I hadn't ignored it, it would have changed the whole tone of the day, because now the whole event had to be put on pause, which kind of let's put it this way: Karen wasn't exactly happy with me because I had to run back home again to get something. Thank God the home in this particular case was less than a mile away, for me to jump in the car, and it only took me a few minutes. But if I had listened to the voice say, "Hey, go back and get it," I would have picked up the whole light and the item, the light that you're talking about, because I get what you're saying, and it would have changed the whole tone of the day.
This is when our rational mind, the thought, the ego overrides the higher self and the intuition.
Mm-hmm.
That's a perfect example. And then look what happened. It sort of spiraled, but you fixed it and it all worked out. Right? Like, it's always, I always go, it's always going to be perfect, even if it seems really sideways. I just call things sideways now, not disasters, or, I don't play in any of that. So it's just like, ooh, that went pretty sideways. Not sure what went on there, but it's what needed to happen. Right. And that's a lesson for you too, for your ego versus your higher self, because you even thought, or did you know you had forgotten it? I can't remember.
Yeah, I realized I'd forgotten it on my way. Yeah, I was like, oh, I forgot that, but that's okay. There's another one around, and in this case, a battery. I believe it was a battery, but the battery that I had with me was dead.
Oh, okay.
So it hadn't been recharged, so I had left the charged one at home.
Right.
So yeah.
Right.
So, but
yeah.
But sometimes we should just give into it, and follow it, because there's more information that we could have missed.
I believe that's true. And then just trusting that intuition. And sometimes it may seem like, wow. I went traveling 2013. I went to Europe, and I spent quite a bit of time there. I put a lot of my things in storage, and I had nowhere to live here. I just went, I'm just going to go and explore. Took 7 months and did this. It was one of the best things I've ever done in my life. And I remember walking with my girlfriend, and she lived in Manchester, and she traveled with me quite a bit. and we were just walking, and we were working with this alchemy. So I did this program called Mastering Alchemy. So it's really much about tuning in, what are the dimensions. It's really the nuts and bolts of how we create our realities. And we would be walking, and then, you know, we get a hit to go look at something, and we didn't know why we were getting this, but because we were away, I just allowed myself to do whatever came, try it. Don't, you know. And when you're traveling, I always find you're more, for me, I feel like I'm more tuned in, because you're very excited to be somewhere. It's new, it's exciting, and the intuition was just flowing. And the more I stepped into this, the more I believe it expanded and kept expanding. So one thing is that I get a lot of messages through license plates. So I love my numbers. And I would get a lot of numbers 5-5, and 5-5 means freedom. So 5 is freedom, 5 more freedom, 5 more, like it's just getting bigger and bigger. And we were walking down this town somewhere in England. I can't remember the name of it. Doesn't matter anyway. And we're walking, and the car's going by. It was 5-5, and we would laugh, and because we were in freedom, right? We were just exploring what freedom feels like, to have this freedom to go where you want, explore what you want, intuitively do what you want. And then 2 cars later, it was 5-5, and then 4 cars later, 5-5 on the license plate, and we were just laughing because we were playing, and it was just this. The universe was responding, and I said to her, "Do you think we could manifest everything and make every license plate be 5-5? Because they were just coming so quickly." But anyway, that was my just being in the flow and exploring and intuition and trusting that intuition.
Yeah.
I guess we're talking about time. We're going a bit diverted, but it's okay.
Yeah. Well, but we are kind of talking about time because we're talking about it more as a field than
than this constricted. Yeah. So. And you know when I'm driving, my auntie taught me when I was a teenager. She said, "Call on your parking angels. You will always have a spot." And I just remember it's always been a playful game with me. I always tell people, when you're exploring all this, be curious and playful like a child. Don't get, "Where's my spot?" It's like, "Oh, hi, angels. I'm coming up now. Where's my spot?" Michael, every time. Rock star parking.
Really?
Always. They're just pulling out, pulling in, or I'll go, "Oh, I guess I have to go around the back." And there it is. It happens all the time, but I make it very, very playful. And I realize that's, for me, the key for me when I'm really manifesting, not getting too serious, because that can happen. That's when I'll go, a few years ago, I was writing a book with a few other ladies. It was on holistic health. And I was sitting writing, and I just wasn't coming out. I was sharing about essential oils and how powerful they are. It just wasn't coming out. And then I heard this voice go, "Get into nature." Like, it wasn't "get into nature." It was "get into nature." And I went out in nature, and I sat, and I took my journal, and I spoke, I audioed it into my phone, and then I wrote in nature. And that's where I wrote it. Wow. And it just came through me.
Cool.
It was interesting.
Yeah.
So there's trusting your intuition and trusting these voices. Because I said that wasn't a nice little, "Oh, Robin, maybe you want to get into nature and try that." It was like, get into nature.
Wow. You're still into nature.
When I don't listen, it gets louder and louder and louder and louder. Pardon?
I said you're still into nature. Yeah, I noticed that when you're there's always a calm when you're on purpose, right?
Yes.
And
because you're connected.
Yeah.
And you're listening. You're connected, and your higher self is guiding you. And your heart, not that rational ego mind. Mm-hmm. That's always going to critically think and have questions.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to also share, I just wrote some notes down, so I'm just sort of going through some things that are coming up when I was thinking about this. So just my dad was in the hospital. My dad died of cancer many years ago now. But I remember going to the hospital, and he was in the hospital quite a bit. And his hospital bed looked directly at a huge clock, huge. So he could watch the time ticking. And he said to me a few times when I went in, I wish I could just rip that clock off the wall, because the time was moving so slowly for him, sitting in that hospital bed. And then the clock, I mean, it was massive. It was a massive clock. But he found that it was depressing for him.
Yeah.
So if people are constantly watching the clock, or watching their checking their watch, or I don't even know if people wear watches anymore, but it was interesting. So that was something about how time can go very slowly for people. Because at the beginning you were sharing, people are saying, I don't have enough time. I don't have enough time for this. But for him, laying in that bed, or when you're sick, time seems to, again, for him it was slow. Yeah. And I would think most people sitting in a hospital room, time drags.
Yeah. When you seem to be in a place where you don't want to be, time could drag.
Yeah.
So the question
but if you're at that party and it's so much fun, and then before you know it, it's 2 a.m, you go, what?
Yeah.
Wow. It was just 9:30. It seems like it was just 9:30. Right.
Yeah. So it's perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whether you're in an expanded, joyful state, or as for my dad, it was constrictive, and he was ill.
Yeah.
So you're closed off, right?
Yeah. So I guess he was waiting for that next connection to happen.
I think it can be quite lonely, right? Like, it is lonely in the hospital. You're waiting, or I know that I do work with seniors, and a lot of them are quite isolated in their homes, and they don't have a lot of stimulation. Mm-hmm. And I think this has happened because of the pandemic for a lot of people. This closing off, and then time can go slow too because of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as we're talking about this, the realization is that the time really isn't just that. Well, as a matter of fact, I do have a bit of it has time on the clock on there. It's a Fitbit, but so it does a whole heck of a lot more than just read the time back to me, or read the clock back to me, however we want to say that. But there is a lot more to time than just sitting there watching a clock. There's a whole lot more to it than another physicist that I know. He compared our existence to you're familiar with Rene Descartes?
Yes.
And the Cartesian graph, and he said that this particular scientist said that in physics that you have the 3 dimensions, like the up, the down, the out, and the in and out, and then you have another coordinate that can be charted according to this Cartesian way of graphing things is time. That everything has to happen up, down, in and out, but it also has to happen to a point in time. So as we're talking, there's a lot more to it than just that particular graph of, oh, here we are at this point in time, which is now, then there's
Right.
a whole lot more to it, and that now can actually expand itself and warp
Yeah, I'm
itself
following
out,
you.
and because we're staying connected to our source, and our grounding, right?
Right.
So
Right. So we're creating this field in our own right. You're
Yeah.
creating that field.
as
that
you called it,
morphogenic
your
field.
sacred container.
You're right. Morphogenic field, but I call it my sacred container. I think
Yeah.
it's easier.
I like sacred container. I like that. That's good.
Yeah, it's perfect. I'm
Because
just thinking of something else that I don't know why I want to share this, but I'm going to. And it's about my dad. So again, my dad. So one day we went to the hospital to see him, and he'd been given something. He had a brain tumor. So sometimes he was not as conscious as others. So this one day, I don't know what he had been given, but this makes me think of people that we would consider not stable. So we went there, and he knew who we were, but he believed he was a Western movie star, like from the old days. And he went in this long story. He wanted to go down to the basement because he wanted to show us his costumes. So he was a old West, Wild West cowboy in these shows. And he said the movie was called Nasters and Snarlers. He had the whole name. He said he had a brain tumor, and he said, I got shot in the head with buckshot, and it blew part of my head off. So he was conscious something was going on with his tumor, because he talked about it from there. But he had this whole long story, and it was a fun conversation. And we were I was with my kids. We were all laughing at Papa, and he was expressing all this. But he knew who we all were. But he believed that he was like waiting to go on to set, and so he was in another reality, sitting with us in this hospital room, in this reality. So there's time again, right? You're in another space, time and space.
yeah.
But it was fascinating to listen to him. And I mean, he was so funny he was so descriptive about it and how much money he made, and they made American dollars. I mean, he had created this whole thing, or it was real to him as he was describing it to us.
Yeah.
It was fascinating. And that's, you see a lot of that with people with dementia and Alzheimer's, when they're moving into another realm.
Yeah.
Or that's disconnecting from this conscious world that we are in right now. Like they're partly here, but partly not. So that's time, isn't it? Aren't we expanding into something? What's that?
Yeah.
That's an aspect of time.
What is on the clinical level? Another friend, ironically enough, her name is also Karen. She said that that people with dementia are in a different place in time than we are, and that's why your dad, for instance, with dementia, you're appearing to him as an adult, but if he was, say, 20 years back, you would be appearing to him as a child.
Yeah. It's fascinating. I know Karen too. I know Karen.
Oh, that's
too.
right. You
Right.
Another Karen.
Yeah.
Hey, we share Karens.
We do. We share Karens. It's quite fascinating. So these other, and people who have strokes, sometimes there's that book. I can't remember her name. She's a doctor, but she had a massive stroke, but she was in the feminine part of the brain, and very, very colorful, and experiencing all this intuition and expansion. And then she did recover. But I think, I don't remember how long she was in my Stroke of Insight, I think the book's called. It was really fascinating. So there's another reality too.
Yeah.
Time is fascinating. The whole concept of it. I love talking about different like being curious, because I mean, I can only say what feels right for me, and same with you for yourself, right?
Right.
Everybody's, but it just but just to even think about it in different ways and just sort of explore it, because it's a fascinating topic.
Yeah. So, while we're sitting here, we have to love our marvels of technology, because my computer does so many different things. It even acts like a phone at times. So I got this text message canceling an appointment for later on today, and here's the interesting part about it. I was talking to my wife earlier today while we were exercising about the appointment, and I said, "Well, was going to miss dinner with her. We usually always have dinner on Friday nights together, especially." And I said, "Well, I'm going to miss it because I'm going to be going over for this appointment and going over to she's not really a client as much as she's a connector to other clients."
Okay.
And she invited me to have dinner with her today, and she just canceled, saying she's not feeling well. And it's coming after my wife teasing me about, "Oh, it's a dinner date, isn't it?" And I'm like, no, you're scaring me. It's like, because I don't want anybody thinking of me in that particular way of a date sort of thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like I'm connected to my wife, very connected to my wife, and so going back to time. And did that point in time when that conversation have an effect on the message I just got now?
Yeah. Maybe, right? We're all connected.
Yeah.
We are all connected. So, or, she may not be feeling well. That's true.
Yeah, she may not be feeling well.
And a lot of people today, if you're not feeling well, people are being very considerate and respectful, not getting together if you don't feel well. That's this time now. Where before, if you had a cold, you'd still go to see, you'd still go out. Where today, you probably would think twice about having that. But you wonder if something happened, because we're all like this all day. We're weaving and connecting, and
Yeah.
I mean, your wife is on the side of that, 'cause she's not really part of that connection you have with whoever you were going to have dinner with, but she is a part of it because she's connected with you. So that's an interesting way to think about it. There's so many weaving parts and connections here.
Yeah, the weaving parts, because we're all waves, right? We're waves moving through whatever the vortex really is. We're waves moving through it, and we intersect and we cross and we connect, and it's that vortex that connects us all, right?
It's mind bending. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, wow, when you think about when you even just start to experience it, it's just like, wow. I've had so many experiences, Michael, I can't explain. Like, it was just like, I just think a lot of it is your frequency and vibration. The higher you go, the more expanded you are, and the more information, and you're moving really into the field, versus if you're in those lower vibration, denser thoughts, you're going to be more constricted. So you want to raise your vibe. That's the game.
Yeah. So our vibe and our frequency, right? When again, going back to the math and the physics part, right? Frequency is exactly that. It's how many times you show up.
Yeah.
Right. And the more we show up, the happier things are.
It's true. The more connected we feel with people.
Yeah.
The more you honor yourself and what's true. I think this could be maybe for men, but I think women can fall into this a lot, is, especially moms, is healthy boundaries. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times women, I should just speak from my own experience. I would say yes to things, and then when it came to it, I go, I really don't want to do that. why am I always saying yes, or, sort of that yes, okay, and with the kids too. And then, it was later when I started to go, let me just think about that. I'll get back to you. So that's just a healthier boundary for myself to just, because I tend to jump and say yes. I know that's my personality versus just let me just ponder on that for a day or two, and then I'll get back to you. So that I know I'm really committing to things I want to do versus, right. Because if we do something we're not interested in, we really don't want to be there, then we're in this funky energy that's no good for anybody.
Yeah. I remember that when we first met, because I thought you were a fantastic person to know, and
thank
you. While we were getting to know each other, you were always like, and you still do it from time to time when you're not feeling something. You is that the right direction or whatever? That you push the pause button, and it feels comfortable that you push the pause button. Does that make sense? Because you're not you. Sometimes you can feel on the other end when someone's just forcing it.
Right.
But if they push the pause button, then oh wait, okay, pause is good. They're really considering and thinking about emotions and energy that's going to be put into this, so that when you actually do something, it works a lot better because the person pushed the pause button and really thought about what they were going to be doing.
For me, it's always about, I want to come into alignment with this so I can show up and really be present and connected with the person or people, whatever, in that moment.
Yeah.
Versus just being, and that took me a long time to learn that. That was it. That was nothing that came early because, when I was a kid, we did things whether we wanted to or not. You did them, right? That was that generation, and that gets imprinted in you. Oh, I just show up and I do this because that's expected of me. And there are some things you have to go and do still. But on the whole, I'm pretty much about, how does that feel? Sometimes it's just a really fast yes, but a lot of times it's just, I was sick for a little bit and I was recovered, but I wasn't feeling 100%. And I honored that in myself to just stay still, quiet, and just get stronger. Because I know that when you take care of yourself, you'll heal faster than pushing. Yeah.
So I'm gonna ask you a question because hey, our conversation has gone, and we need to wrap up the conversation. So other people can experience there now. It's like, do you have some best practices or best advice for people to make sure that they're experiencing what is happening right in front of them to the best of their ability?
My number one go-to for everybody is make sure you are grounded and in your body, because we spend a lot of time up in our minds and out of the body. We're logical, and we don't really realize the wisdom of our bodies. So, when you're exercising, that's you rooting into your body. That's you grounding in. And I always say to people in the morning, just connect to your tailbone and just drop that core down to the center of the earth, or just breathe into your body. If you want to use the visual of the tree, the roots coming out of your feet, but you want to be here and now. And people I see this all the time with my my business. People are not grounded. They aren't in their bodies. They're not connected. Mm-hmm. And that is huge because the earth is everything for us. I call her my mama. She provides everything from security, stability, our food, your home, everything is there. And that is foundational to making your, and going up. And then the second would be source. So having that streaming, that's key. And then understanding what healthy boundary is for you and really exploring that. and no is a complete sentence for people, women, men. No is a complete sentence. And also understanding what that means energetically. I'm a big one about energy because we are an energetic being. And then the last is always go to your heart. I just had a beautiful experience in France when I was on a trip, and I was in Notre Dame, and I decided to attend Mass. And I'm not Catholic, but I went into church. It was Sunday morning, and it was beautiful. The choir was singing, the energy in there it was gorgeous. And I went, I think I'm going to have Mass, stay for Mass. So I did. And when I was in Mass, and it was really emotional, I must have, I believe in past lives, so I know I've been Catholic in past lives, obviously. But this just touching, and the tears were coming, and and it was just such a beautiful experience. And there was a picture of the goddess, Divine Mother, that was sort of kitty corner to me, and I kept looking at it, and then I just got this beautiful message, and it was, take everyone into your heart as you would your infant child, and nurture and love them as you would your infant child, even those that challenge you the most. There's a bit more to that message, but that was profound. Profound.
That is definitely profound.
So it's always when people challenge me or trigger me, I just take them into my heart and look at why is that triggering me? What's going on in me?
Yeah.
I'm going into way more, but let's grounding.
Yeah, I'd say that our Creator was definitely delivering a clear message to you that particular Mass. So yeah,
it definitely was powerful. It's it's one of my cores.
Yeah,
truth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, anyway, it's been great talking to you today. And
you too, Michael.
A lot of fun. It's always fun talking to you. So.
Me too. Love our conversations.
Yeah.
So I wish upon that shooting star.
This show has been produced by Depictions Media. Please contact us at depictions.media for more information.